everyone, it's Katie from Paradise Falls family. In this video we'll be continuing our vlog series covering our Mediterranean cruise aboard the Royal Caribbean Oasis of the Seas in June 2024. In our previous video, which you can find in this same playlist, we talked about our time aboard the ship, and in the rest of the series we'll be covering the ports we visited and the excursions we enjoyed, focusing here on Barcelona, where the cruise started and ended. As always, we'll give a bit of an overview of the city, talk about what we got up to, and give you some tips for navigating the city as a family. Our cruise sailed Sunday to Sunday during the kids' half-term break from school. This meant we flew out to Barcelona on the Saturday and back on the Sunday after our cruise, so we didn't have long here, but enough to get a taster of the city. Greg has visited before and knows the city a little, so we weren't completely starting from scratch. Barcelona sits on the east coast of Spain and it's a fantastic holiday destination with so much on offer. It's not far from nearby beach resorts, meaning it's possible to spend a day or two here as part of a longer trip, or of course it's a brilliant city break destination in itself. Barcelona is pretty unusual for your typical European city break, in that as well as offering amazing sights and experiences, it also has a beach stretching the length of the city, meaning you can get in some relaxation as well as culture and fun. One of the main tourist areas, right in the centre, is around the famous Las Ramblas Boulevard, lined with shops and restaurants, which runs from one of the main squares, Plaça de Catalunya, down to the waterfront. Immediately to the north of here is the Old Town, which is really atmospheric and a lovely place to wander. Down by the water is the port to the south, and then the Barceloneta area, with the famous stretch of beach and the cable car up to Montjuic in the hills. This area sits in the south of the city and is home to the Castel de Montjuic, the Olympic area, including the Olympic Stadium, and several other sites including the Magic Fountain of Montjuic, which has regular music and light shows. Though due to a drought, a lot of the fountains in the city weren't running when we visited, including this one, so make sure to check this out before you visit. Elsewhere in the city is the iconic Sagrada Familia Cathedral, the Parc de la Ciutadella, and of course the Nou Camp, home to FC Barcelona. This is one of the most amazing stadiums in the world and well worth visiting to see the museum and stadium tour, although unfortunately it's currently being renovated, so we didn't have it on our list for this trip. Then of course there are numerous Antoni Gaudi creations to see. Even if you're not fussed on architecture, visiting a couple of these is a must-do if you have the time. The best, or at least the most popular, being of course the Sagrada Familia, Parkway and Casa Batlló, to name a few. However, as I mentioned, we didn't have long in the city with just one night, so we decided we'd have to accept that we wouldn't see anywhere near everything. So we just picked a couple of activities and spots to explore with the kids this time. As always, we did our planning in advance, scouring the guidebooks and picking out the main things we wanted to see and do together as a family. We flew out to Barcelona from Manchester with Ryanair, landing at El Prat Airport just on the edge of the city. There are a few different airports in the Barcelona area, some are quite a way away, so make sure you know which one you're flying to. The flight and journey through the airport was a breeze, and it's just a 20-minute taxi journey into the city. To keep costs down, we'd booked a cheap night at the Holiday Inn Express, located in the El Poblenou area of the city, a little to the north of the main centre. There's loads of great hotels available in Barcelona, but they were really pricey for the weekend that we were staying, so we opted for something cheaper that would do the trick for just a night. This hotel was perfect for this. Although not bang in the middle, it had a good location in that it was only a block from the La Rambla de Poblenou, which was a long boulevard, not too dissimilar to Las Ramblas, with lots of dining options. It was also only a couple of blocks from the nearest underground metro station, so it was easy to get around. The hotel itself was well kept, safe and clean, and we enjoyed excellent service at reception and a very warm welcome. The hotel did the trick. It was clean and comfortable. It came with a double bed and a sofa bed to accommodate us all. It was a tad on the small side with the sofa bed out, so for a longer stay it might have been just a bit too cosy. But for us, for one night, it was just right. The bathroom was fine and we didn't notice any outside noise, so we'd recommend this if you're looking for a cheaper stay when you're in town and perhaps not planning to spend long in your room. We always prefer to use IHG hotels where possible, as their ambassador club is a really great loyalty scheme and we've got great value from this over the years. I've included a link to it below if you want to check it out. In fact, we actually used some of our points for this stay. It cost us around 44,000 points. This meant all we had to pay was the nightly tourist tax on arrival of €7, so it was an absolute bargain when we'd originally budgeted a few £100 for this night's stay. Arriving at the hotel at around 1 PM, we were allowed to check in a little bit early, and then the staff gave us some recommendations for somewhere to eat nearby. We wandered just a block away to Rambla del Poblano, where we found loads of options and enjoyed a lovely lunch of tapas and paella sat out in the sun. It does take a bit of practice ordering tapas and knowing how much you need to order, particularly with the kids, and we ended up with far more food than we needed, but you live and learn. This came to around €100, so it was on the pricey side, but as I said, we did really overorder, so if you're smarter than us, you can eat for much cheaper. Ready to get out and about, we decided we were going to spend the afternoon at the beach. We've already done a few city breaks this year, and the kids weren't up for trekking around to see the sights, so we decided to take it easy and relax. As I mentioned, the metro station was only a couple of blocks away from the hotel, so we made use of this. The metro in Barcelona is very good. It feels very safe, although we were warned about pickpockets in the city, so keep your wits about you. The ticket machines are really easy to use, and there are a range of tickets on offer. We couldn't see a day ticket, only a 2-day ticket for €17.50 per person. A single was only €2.55, so given we weren't here long, we all just bought singles, which still felt like really good value. We got on at Lacuna, and it was only a couple of stops to Barcelona. From there, it's about a 10 to 15 minute walk to the beach. The beach runs the length of the city, so we could have picked a spot closer. However, Barcelona is the most popular area, and it's what you'll see in all of the pictures, and it's closest to the very centre of the city and other attractions. The beach lines the little area of land that juts out into the ocean, with the W Hotel sitting at the end and the cable car station. It's a really lively area with loads of restaurants, shops and a marina. It was a really easy walk, and then we settled on the beach for the afternoon. In terms of beaches, it's fair to say this one wasn't great compared to others that we visited. It's of course man-made, which you can tell. The sand is pretty gritty, not very soft, and the water's edge was really pebbly. It was also insanely crowded with it being Saturday afternoon. There were loads of lively groups, all enjoying the beach, but it did mean it wasn't particularly relaxing or very family friendly. There were also lots of people walking around trying to sell stuff and pestering you, which was a little bit annoying. The kids still had a great time playing in the sand, but I wouldn't rank this as one of the better beaches we've been to. Around 5 PM, we also noticed the beach started getting even busier, with a lot of stag doos wearing some pretty crazy and definitely adult themed outfits, so it was time to move on and get the kids away. I think we were probably a little bit unlucky with the timing, being Saturday afternoon. But I also think if we were to try the beach again, we'd go further down the coast, north towards our hotel, where I'd expect it to be a bit quieter and perhaps better for families. Back on the metro, we hopped back on up to Urquinaona, which is just a short walk from Plaça de Catalunya, one of the main squares in Barcelona, which sits at the top of the iconic Las Ramblas. Our plan was to do a bit of shopping, followed by some dinner. The square was really impressive, but it was really busy with the Women's Champions League final being shown, which Barcelona were in, so they had it on a big screen in the square. It was a really good atmosphere, so we stayed to watch a little bit before moving on to the El Triangle shopping centre, which is home to the Sephora flagship store, and it has a little slide that you can use to enter rather than going down the steps if you want. The kids of course loved this, and after a little bit more browsing, we started down Las Ramblas to get something to eat. We were quite surprised that there weren't lots of options for dinner, with the top half of Las Ramblas dominated by shops, including the Torrens Vicens chocolate shop, which was a highlight and a really nice little surprise for a treat and souvenir. It wasn't until we got to maybe halfway down that the restaurants really started appearing, with seating down the middle of the street. We picked one of the first that we saw as we were pretty hungry by now, and we enjoyed some more tapas food. The food was okay, pricey again as you might expect in such a touristy area, and it wasn't the most relaxing meal we've ever had. Las Ramblas is so busy, and of course it's noisy, and you're basically sat right in the middle of all of this, with traffic and crowds of people going by on either side. This included many people stopping by the table to try and sell us stuff, and also homeless people trying to get something to eat from our plates. Overall, not the best meal we've ever had, so we moved on quickly, stopping for dessert at a nearby cafe before jumping in a taxi to take us back to the hotel. It was around 10 PM by now on a Saturday night, and we thought we'd better get back quickly and safely without tackling the metro and walking around late at night in a city that we're not very familiar with. The next morning, we just let the kids have a lie-in. We were tempted to get out for a few hours to explore, but they were tired and we were boarding the ship at midday, so we stayed in and just took it easy. I've talked through the boarding process in the last cruise vlog, but it was really easy to get a taxi outside of the hotel and get on our way to the port. Moving on a week, we got off the ship after a wonderful time and had a short half day in the city before we had to fly home. Again, I've talked through this process in the last vlog, as well as leaving our luggage with bags to go, which freed us up to go and enjoy some time in the city. There were loads of taxis waiting outside of the cruise terminal, so we hopped in one of these, which dropped us at the Arc de Triomphe in the middle of the city for around €20. This sits right near the Parc de la Ciutadella, so our plan was to spend a few hours in this area before heading to Sagrada Familia, which we'd booked for 11 AM. The park itself was a little hit and miss. We entered through the gates nearest the Arc de Triomphe on Passage de Pujadas in the corner of the park. We saw a kids' playground, so headed for that, but unfortunately accidentally walked right into the middle of a homeless area, so we quickly moved on. The other side of the park was a bit nicer, with the beautiful Gaudi fountain, and we sat at a little cafe here for a while, enjoying an ice cream. There's a lake right near here in the middle of the park where you can rent a rowboat and get out on the water. We considered this but didn't quite have enough time in the end. The park is also home to the Parliament of Catalunya, and the bottom half of the park is the Barcelona Zoo if you fancy it. Most of it's a really nice park, so worth a stop if you have a longer stay in the city. As I mentioned, we had a reservation for Sagrada Familia at 11 AM. With this being such a famous building, we really wanted to visit while we were here, and thought it would be good for a travel day to get us out of the heat a little. The cathedral only opens at 11 and we had a flight to catch around 4 PM, so being conscious of time, we'd pre-booked for opening at 11 AM and it cost €52. This was the basic ticket just for entry, and children under 11 are free. You can pay extra for guided tours and to go to the top of the towers, but we didn't really have time on this visit. As it happened, the cathedral opened early to visitors, and so after a quick taxi over here, we were in and through security for around 10:30. The ticket comes with an audio guide, which you can access by downloading the app, and you're free to explore the cathedral at your own pace. It's well set up for tourists with a museum, a shop, toilets, etc., and we enjoyed around an hour here before moving on. It's no doubt a beautiful and really unique building. The architecture is incredible and we really enjoyed visiting. It's a must-do if you're in the city. In front of the cathedral is a lovely little park which is a great spot for photos and to relax away from some of the crowds. The surrounding streets also have loads of shops and restaurants, so it's a great area to visit despite all of the crowds. There's also loads of taxis outside of the cathedral, so it was really easy to just hop in and head off to the airport to pick up our luggage before our flight home. So that covers our time in Barcelona. It was only a brief visit, but we had lots of fun. If we're being really honest, it actually probably wasn't quite as family friendly as we thought it would be. As I've said, the beach wasn't wonderful, and you do get pestered a lot in some areas of the city, like the beach and Las Ramblas, and a couple of times we felt a little bit uncomfortable. On the other hand, most people were very friendly and helpful, and it was also very easy to get around. It just did stand out a little bit compared to some of the other European cities that we've visited recently. Maybe we were just a bit unlucky though, and having said all of that, it certainly wouldn't put us off visiting again. In fact, we plan to come back in the next few years, and we'd love to go to a Barcelona match and see a bit more of the city. Perhaps visit some of the theme parks around the city like Portaventura and Tibidabo. There's certainly a lot for families to do here if you have a little bit more time than we did. So hopefully you found this useful in giving you some tips, but if there's anything at all you want to know, please just message us in the comments below. Over the next few weeks, we'll continue looking at our shore days and excursions, including Rome, Pisa and Naples. So make sure to subscribe to our channel to catch that, and to support the channel. It really does make a huge difference. Thank you all so much for watching.